Good afternoon. This is It Play. I'm Isaac. Joining me from the other side of the coffee table, James. It's kind of weird seeing you across from a coffee table and not at my desk anymore.
That was 6 hellos.
Yeah, it's
Expect 7 next time.
It's a special
Occasion?
Not really, no.
No.
What is it? The first week of September? Weekend? I don't know. Anyways,
How
you guys
was your
doing?
Labor Day?
It was good. I labored surprisingly
you did go to work.
a holiday that is supposed to be about celebrating the workers. I worked.
Had to go to work. You
Time
got
and a
time and a
half,
half, though. You got time and a half.
Time and a half, and I think I get 8 hours as well.
Nice.
So
Nice.
it wasn't all in vain.
I thankfully did not work on Labor Day.
Yeah, no, you got it lucky.
I also didn't go to the movies. I could have participated in breaking the box office record.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
But I had other things to do, such as not that.
Not go watch Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
How much did it make?
75.4 million.
And the previous record was Halloween, right?
It was like 60 million or something, like 50, 40, 30, something like that. Somewhere in that range of less than 75. Obviously less than 75 million.
I mean, when you think of Labor Day, do you think of
Movie going?
action movie or horror movie? The fact that Halloween even had that record to begin with
It's
is
pretty
surprising
impressive.
to me.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a year nothing else was out.
See, but Labor Day, it signifies the end of summer.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, like, I don't know. I feel like people aren't going to go watch a movie specifically to go and end or for Labor Day, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not 4th of July. It's not Memorial Day, kind of, sort of. I mean, Memorial Day, there's no school, so, like, you can take kids to the movie theaters. But Labor Day, it's like, kids are at school already.
Yeah.
Like, we should go do something fun for Labor Day as, like, the end of summer. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird that the record was only 60-something million.
Yeah.
60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 million. And that Shang-Chi, out of all the movies, do you think that was a calculated move by Disney to be like, let's put it on the weekend?
I think it was, for sure. I think releasing it on Labor Day was on purpose. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that expecting more. Because what's funny is that when we talk about all these movies coming out and we talk about how much they make at the box office, they're all around, the successful ones are all around 60 million, 60, right. 70 million. Black Widow was at like 80 or something like that, right? We have to remember that earlier in the pandemic record
Black Widow
was Tenet.
Are we talking 2020?
The entire pandemic.
How much did Tenet make? Tenet didn't make that much.
300 million.
Opening day?
Just in total.
Oh, in total.
And nothing has come close. I don't believe that was its opening day numbers, but I kind of wouldn't doubt it. Because that was really early on in the pandemic, where it was like, we weren't really sure how serious it was going to be. And so everybody still was going to theaters. But now it's kind of like, you really have to want to go see the movie to go to the theaters. Are you looking it up right now?
Yes.
Do you not believe me?
No, I believe you. I just want to make sure we get this right. See, because I'm getting one that says Suicide Squad set.
The all-time. They're probably thinking 2021 alone.
What is the highest grossing movie during the pandemic? Black Widow.
Black Widow? What about for 2020?
2020 Tenet. I mean,
yeah.
2020 Tenet was the only movie that actually wanted to come out in theaters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it still has more than Black Widow and, how do you pronounce it? Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi? Yeah,
okay.
I think it's Shang-Chi.
Okay. I'm not enough of a Marvel fan to get it right.
So it says here, Black Widow, $80 million opening weekend. Yeah. So $80 million opening weekend. At least around $250 million total including the Disney Premier Access and international sales. So, I don't think Shang-Chi... Well, Shang-Chi wasn't even close to that, but
No.
I think it's only like 100-something million for its opening weekend.
Do you think people were more excited for Black Widow? Because I had
Yes.
said specifically that I saw more people excited for Shang-Chi. But now
I
that
think
we're
people were
post-
excited for a Marvel movie to be back.
yeah,
Because it had been a while since we saw a Marvel movie in theaters. I mean, I think the last one was what?
Black Widow.
Spider-Man? Before? Or no, Spider-Man was after Black Widow. So,
What Spider-Man?
the second one with... Nah, I was about to say Tobey Maguire.
Didn't Black Widow come out this year?
Yes. Oh, so
Black Widow
the
was
second
most
Spider-Man
recent
came
one.
out last
Yeah,
year or 2 years ago? 2 years ago, I
last
think.
year.
Hold on. I'm getting my dates wrong.
I haven't seen any of these movies.
This
so
is
I'm
how you
purposely
know we
just
watch the Marvel movie, the
is like-
MCU
yeah.
religiously.
two people who don't watch
If you guys
Marvel
think we're
movies
just
talk
doing a
about Marvel
bit, no,
movies.
we don't know anything about Marvel movies.
We should do that as an episode where we just talk about these movies and their plots as if we had seen them.
Far From Home came out in 2019.
Okay,
Sorry. So Black Widow
was the most recent one.
the first Marvel movie since Spider-Man Far From Home in theaters. The first
Yes.
MCU movie, sorry. So that's why I think it did so well, because people were just excited for something
Yeah.
that they know to be back.
Yeah,
With this movie, I think it was something new, and I think I don't think we can understate the importance of a Asian character on the big screen, like we saw with Black Panther. I mean, not that the Black Panther is Asian, but you know what I mean. But I don't think we can understate that importance of like people wanting to see minorities on the big screen and in title roles and feature roles such as this. So, does it surprise me that it broke the box office? Absolutely not.
No,
It does surprise me that it made that much money though. 75 million is a big chunk of change for an opening
it
weekend.
surprises me because I thought it was going to be more.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Were you thinking it was going to touch 100?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
Just because it's Labor Day, and for some reason I thought of that as like apparently a holiday
big-
people want to see movies
big
on or
holiday,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So if only I had gone to see it on my day off, maybe it would have.
You were the reason it didn't break
100 million.
the
The reason that it was 400 million off was because of me alone.
yeah. Come on, man. What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
Anyways, the rest in the top 5, Candyman, Free Guy, Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol still doing pretty solid. 31 million so far total gross. 5 million this past weekend. Jungle Cruise. So pretty.
Nothing has changed. Nothing interesting.
Yeah, nothing really
Nothing
exciting
stand out.
going on right
No.
now in the box office. Is there anything new coming out that you know of? I don't think so, right?
I don't think so. Not that I
Let's see here.
have seen trailers for.
Nope,
off the top
nothing
of my
coming up
head.
this weekend.
So-
Nothing coming up. We should probably have figured this out before we went on recording. Nonetheless. But that's okay because we're about to have a huge month in October.
Yeah.
October 2021 might be. Just a
Oscar
quick
bait the
aside,
month.
Can
Yeah.
you think of a bigger month for movie releases besides, the stereotypical late December
Yeah,
releases?
Late December Oscar bait.
Because usually the way the studios do this is they would like to stagger them. Like everybody knows Memorial Day weekend is going to be a Marvel movie, so nobody plans to run a Marvel movie. And everybody knows, Nolan, Tarantino, or Scorsese is going to drop something in the middle of
November.
the summer.
Yeah.
Or, like late to mid-summer. So nobody really plans around
Yes,
then.
November, late to midsummer.
Not November.
We're going by Australia rules.
Not November. But like this year, it just feels like, you know what? It's just like a battle. It's a real life battle royale at the box office. Just everybody's dropping their movies in October. We have the French Dispatch, Dune. We
The month
got
of Timothy Chalamet.
Halloween. We've got I think No Time to Die comes out, the Bond movie.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think Edgar Wright's movie comes out in October too, if I'm not
Last Night in
mistaken.
Soho?
Yeah, there's like a bunch of movies coming out in October.
We might actually see some of those.
At least one of them.
We should try to see most of them. We will at least see Dune.
We will at least see one of them.
I will take you to see French Dispatch so you can actually see a Wes Anderson
I will
movie
go
for
see the
once.
French Dispatch just for the sake of this pod, not because I actually want to go.
He's such a fan of Timothée Chalamet.
So we got Venom, Adam's Family, Many Saints of Newark, No Time to Die. Can I not go forward in this? Okay, sorry. We got The Last Duel.
The Last Duel?
I want to say that's the... What movie is that? That's somebody big directing it. This is so hard to look up
That's
on my
very-
phone instead of my laptop.
on your computer.
Yeah.
Don't bother. People know that there's a lot of movies coming out.
Ridley Scott. It's the Ridley Scott movie.
Ooh, Ridley Scott.
Yeah. Halloween, the new French Dispatch, Dune, and
Is
Last
it
Night
just
in
me?
Soho. So
Is Ridley Scott like really, really hit or miss?
I don't think it's just you.
No.
I
He's
mean,
had-
his last like 3 movies have been
Bombs.
subpar.
Yeah. Because he'll do things like The Martian, and I'm
Yeah.
like, Ridley Scott's back on top.
Yeah.
And then he'll do like the one about the Greek gods or whatever it was. Do you remember that? It was called like Last of the Olympians. No, that's the Percy Jackson book.
I was going to say, is this a
It
joke?
was called like Gods of Olympus or something
Is
like
this
that.
a joke?
It was some Greek or Roman movie. Maybe it was called Hercules. I don't remember.
Did he do Hercules? I
no,
don't think he
no,
did
no.
Hercules.
It was some big budget ancient Rome film that like bombed in a really bad way.
He hasn't done... Oh, Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Yeah, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Exodus Gods of Kings.
Yeah, he's been pretty... It's been rough past couple years, to say the least.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it
And
goes.
this is not to say that I have not genuinely been excited to see some of those movies, like Robin Hood, for example. If you remember his Russell Crowe Robin Hood movie,
Yes.
I was actually really excited to see that
Unfortunately.
one. But for the most part, yeah, no, he's
It's
a good
weird.
director.
It's weird because he goes Alien, Blade Runner, then he has some flops, then he comes out with Thelma and Louise, flops, all the way up until G.I. Jane. Not that that's like a, masterpiece, but it is somewhat popular.
No, it's notable.
90s culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gladiator, one of the greatest movies of all time. Hannibal, the remake at least. It's, it's whatever.
Yeah, notable.
Black Hawk Down, probably
A good war movie.
his magnum opus, I would say. Either that or Alien.
Well, debatable.
Kingdom of Heaven, it's, Liam Neeson. Bunch of other flops. American Gangster. Robin Hood. Prometheus.
He's basically Martin Scorsese but British.
The Counselor. Exodus, Gods and King.
The Counselor. That movie was.
Remember that movie?
written
There was like actual
by-
hype behind that movie because it had a big cast.
It was also written by Cormac McCarthy, who is a really good author. He's the guy who wrote No Country for Old Men.
I do remember you talking
Yeah.
about that.
I also remember.
And then he comes out with The Martian. Then he comes out with Alien Covenant and All the Money in the World. So, his good is really good. His bad is really bad.
At least he's making movies. He's doing what he loves.
True.
I'm not going to fault him for that.
So, it'll be
Even if I will
interesting to
fault him for
see.
his movies.
It'll be interesting to see if this is a good Ridley Scott or bad Ridley Scott. I feel like we're due for a good Ridley Scott. It's been, since 2015 since
I'm
we've
not
had a
going
good
to see
Ridley
it, so I
Scott?
don't care.
You gotta see it for the pod.
Fine, whatever.
If I have to see French Dispatch, you're gonna go watch The Last Duel with
The
me.
Last Duel. I don't even know what it's about, but okay.
I don't know what it's
We'll
about
keep
either,
it
but
that
it's
way.
Ridley Scott in medieval Europe. I'm there.
Ooh, medieval Ridley Scott.
I think
It's
so.
going to be some Count of Monte Cristo
He's like
type of
14th.
thing.
I think it's like 14th century
It's
stuff.
going to be a Pushkin biopic. All right.
Anyways, speaking of Ridley Scott and Black Hawk, greatest movie soundtrack. One of the greatest movie soundtracks, by the way.
Well, you're gonna.
It's our topic of the day.
Black Hawk Down is your example of the greatest movie soundtrack.
No,
He has
one of
Blade Runner.
one of
The soundtrack to Blade.
I said with
Runner.
Hans Zimmer.
Whatever.
One of the greatest movie
Tangerine
soundtracks.
Dream. What are you doing, my guy?
Just let me segue into our main segment for once.
Take a better segue.
All right, here we go. Movie soundtracks.
Whoa.
Um,
No way.
I don't know how you feel about movie soundtracks. I
You love them.
have thoroughly enjoyed a couple of them.
Yeah.
I actually have an entire Spotify playlist dedicated to just my favorite tracks.
Nice.
But you are not in that boat,
Well,
correct?
I am not in that boat in terms of
You don't enjoy it recreationally.
I don't recreational soundtrack listening.
You
is
don't
not
enjoy
my
that.
go-to. No. I much prefer medically.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Usually for me, I really enjoy soundtracks when it's artists I already know. And that's not to say that there are specific film composers who I don't enjoy, like Hans Zimmer, for example,
Sure.
or Johan Johansson, who
Yeah.
does all the Denis Villeneuve movies.
Another good one.
He died, I think, in 2017, I believe.
Yes.
But the films that he did do were all amazing. Even to some degrees, guys like Danny Elfman, for example. But usually, I like soundtracks when it's a musician I already know is doing a film soundtrack.
Yeah.
That's usually where I'm
Like
I'll listen to this. Like
Trent Reznor.
Yeah, dude, I was
And,
so excited when we did the David Fincher episode. I was like, I
'Cause you
get
just-
to talk about
you
how
just
much I
wanted to talk about
love
Trent Reznor.
these freaking Trent Reznor soundtracks.
It's good soundtracks.
They're
Yeah,
like
for sure.
basically any other Nine Inch Nails fan listening, they're basically just ghosts, but with visuals. Even though Ghost did have visuals if you bought the DVDs, but that doesn't matter. Basically, yes, that's a good example of them. Because I have a question for you though. You like soundtracks? Do you like them because you think they're good music, or do you like them because you're still visualizing the movie in your head as you listen?
Mostly I just like the tracks.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the soundtracks I like are just nice pieces of music to listen to my
Yeah.
ears. I'll just listen to them like at work or something.
Yeah.
I just put in my headphones and listen to, the Interstellar soundtrack or the Taxi Driver soundtrack with that smooth jazz.
Oh, man.
I love that smooth jazz, but
That's part of the reason why I prefer soundtracks when it's done by musicians going to movies, because they tend to approach it in terms of like as if
Just a
they're
casual-
songs. Yeah.
listening experience.
Yeah. That's what
Makes
I love
sense.
about all the Trent Reznor soundtracks. Other ones I love, there's a classical composer named Niels Fromm who did the soundtrack to a movie called Victoria. And it's basically just Niels Fromm songs, but with a soundtrack.
Yeah. Attached to moving picture.
Dead Mouse did a soundtrack for
Did he?
a Netflix film called Polar. I believe it's called Polar, or maybe it's Polaris. I believe it's Polar. It was a Mads Mikkelsen movie too. I didn't watch it, but I did listen to the soundtrack. And Dead Mouse had for a very, very long time, he's a huge Hans Zimmer fan. And I remember a very long time ago, he was like, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to do what Hans Zimmer does. Sure enough, he does this soundtrack. He's really into orchestral stuff. What I liked about that soundtrack specifically is that what Dead Mouse did was he took unreleased songs of his and he used them on the soundtrack,
That's smart.
which I was both happy because those songs are now released, but I was also like, I wish this was not attached to another property, but nonetheless. And of course, how could we forget the best example, Daft Punk, Tron Legacy.
Pretty solid soundtrack.
That is
I haven't
actually-
seen the movie, but I've listened to it.
It's a really solid soundtrack.
It's a really, really good soundtrack.
Great songs on that.
Yeah. I mean, Daft Punk, one of the
Yeah.
greatest,
We can't not mention them talking about soundtracks.
one of the
like
greatest
this.
bands of all time, or duos of all time. Excuse me.
Now, when it comes to what you want out of a soundtrack, do you like it when it's... Because obviously a lot of the artists who I'm listing, guys like Ryuichi Sakamoto, Trent Reznor, Niels Fromm, they're mainly doing like... It's their music, but their music was already pretty ambient, pretty classical inspired. not necessarily very melodic, although Ryuichi Sakamoto songs like Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence is very known for its melody.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they're still like, subtle, just vibes. They're not like, the sweeping melodies of what's his name? John Williams.
I was gonna say, when are we gonna mention John Williams?
What do you prefer? Because I feel like when you're listening to a soundtrack, I prefer the vibes.
Yes.
But when I'm watching the movie, I want the theme song.
Yeah.
That sticks out.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I will never listen to that on my own outside of that.
Like the Superman theme song, one of the greatest theme songs of all time.
Sing it.
I'm thinking of Indiana. I don't know why Indiana Jones is coming in my head right now. But it's another one where it's like, those are iconic theme songs.
Yeah.
Those aren't on my movie playlist
No.
to listen to.
No.
I'm thinking more along the lines of like Trent Reznor, hand covers. Was it Bruce covers hands? Hand
covers Bruce.
Hand covers Bruce. That one I can put on.
Yeah.
That soundtrack alone I can put on repeat.
Oh yeah.
And like, this is kind of like the Harry Potter soundtrack. I don't listen to the main theme, but I'll listen to like,
one or two
the
songs.
Christmas theme or like something that's more like, chill and like, I can jam to and stuff like that. So I'm definitely more inclined to listen to the vibes.
Now, we were just talking about this, so this is going to be redundant for us, but do you feel like melodic theme music is missing from movies?
Yes.
Because this question is going to be two-part. One, do you think it's because we don't really have that many franchises? We really only have Marvel and DC right now. Whereas, you go in the past and it's like your Star Wars, your Indiana Jones, your Star Trek stuff, for example, your Supermans.
Terminator. Yeah,
Terminator has a recognizable soundtrack. Whereas now it's like, I think when people think of blockbuster movies, they only think of Marvel. And so really the onus is on Marvel to just have better soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even think of what the Avengers theme is.
They've only used it twice. So that tells you all you need to know about it.
Wow.
3 times if you're including the end game, or the trailer. 4 times, I guess, if you're including the trailers.
Yeah, the trailers
for
sure.
Yeah.
Do you agree with
that's a good point, though. Yeah, because it feels like, back in the day, it felt like the theme songs for your movie was kind of the calling card or something. Yeah. Like it was the business card, right? It was what it's impressed into your imagination. Like, we were kind of goofing on the Terminator 2 of like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
But it is so synonymous with Terminator that if you go dun 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 to anybody,
or like the Jaws.
Yeah, or like Jaws. Like Jaws is used as a meme.
Yeah.
That's how iconic and synonymous it is with that franchise and that feeling that Williams wanted to get out of the audience. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like what's a good soundtrack from a franchise you've listened to in the past 5 years?
Star Wars.
The only one I can think of is, I wasn't even gonna go Star Wars. I was gonna go DC. The Wonder Woman theme song is the only theme song I know of. That
when it comes to off the bat, entire soundtracks, no, not at all.
I'm talking about just tracks, just individual iconic track. You can't include the Star Wars theme song because that's from the 70s.
What's funny too is that there are songs from the Star Wars symphonic universe, if I'm allowed to call it that are like the Force theme, for example. The song is called the Force theme. I think that's a pretty good song, and if it wasn't attached to Star Wars, I would enjoy it anyway. Just the fact that it's attached to Star Wars makes it somewhat more cool. But there are definitely whenever the credits end, it's like bah, 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 that song. I will never listen to that voluntarily on my own in any circumstance, in any scenario. I have to be watching a Star Wars movie in order to hear that. Okay, you pulled your phone out. No, you were going to play something.
No, I wasn't going to play
anything. Still go on YouTube.
I wasn't going to play anything. I promise.
Pull up an example right now. Yeah.
Why do you think it is that movie soundtracks are like that? Do you think it's just the lack of I feel like it's the lack of creativity from composers.
I think it's a shift in priorities. I think it's really in this I think back in the day where the special effects really weren't, they were innovative and new, but they weren't like good.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, we knew that. Everyone knew that.
Yeah.
And so I think there was still more of a desire to, in order to have a complete film, it was like, well, if we're lacking in this department, we're using new technology here. We still want to have the film be, edited in a very tight manner. We still want a soundtrack that is going to, catch people's attention if the space battles aren't going to do that for them.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. Where I think now that special effects has come so far that if we shot just us two against the green screen, we could still edit it to make it look like we were in a room like this.
Yeah.
It's come so far that it's like it's taken over everything, that I feel like the need to is like you're going to be way more entranced by how cool our space battles look than anything else.
Yeah.
That we don't really want the soundtrack to. It's literally the Danny Elfman thing we were just watching. It was like they just don't want the soundtrack to get in the way. It's so visual focused that it's like the soundtrack is just kind of there. And the only time the soundtrack will come out is when it's like a character is dying or something like that,
Right.
Yeah. And that's just for, well, do you have any extra thoughts on this as well? Because you said that it was a lack of creativity, so I want you to defend that position now.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel that
I want you to call out a specific composer who you don't think is creative enough.
It's not a specific composer. It's just
Junkie XL. Where are you at?
He actually has that Wonder Woman theme song is pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's these studio heads and these producers just. I mean, it's kind of your point as well, where it's a shift in priorities where they don't really think to need to have a good song.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, everybody's so visually, they want people to visually be entranced by what's going on, that it feels like the audio is being kind of shunted to the side, which is sad because, we look at, the great working directors of today and of all time. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock with, who's this composer? I can't think of it. I'm sorry. I can't think of...
You're good.
I'm sorry, Alfred Hitchcock's composer, even though you've been dead since the 70s. But, like, it just feels like it's a lack of the directors as well, just not thinking of it and not having that skill to be like, oh, maybe I should have, this should be my song. And it's like you said, I know we were talking about this earlier, and I don't like to steal your thunder, but the emergence of temp music has really killed the
creativity
need, right, and the need and the creativity to create an original piece of work, when it's just like, I've been guilty of this as well, just editing short films and other side stuff or whatever. It's just like, well, if I have a song that I can use, if I have a free song I can use, why would I go hire somebody to write a piece of music for me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can just go on a free, or not even free, but I can pay like $10 to buy a song and use it for my short film.
Yeah. The fact that is getting done by studio movies is crazy.
And it's now it's almost like pop music is starting. I mean, we saw this, Guardians of the Galaxy is probably most famous with this in terms of franchises. But even guys like Scorsese, as much as I love Scorsese, he uses the same damn 6 songs in every single one of his movies from the same 2 artists. It's like, why do I need to keep reinventing the wheel when the wheel has already been refined to a point that I don't need to?
Yeah, you don't need any more music. The Rolling Stones have done that for you.
Exactly, yeah. Why do I need to hire the composer when I can just pay, $500,000 to the Stones to take 6 of their songs?
At this point, they probably give him songs for free.
Just for the clout.
Yeah. Also, it's Bernard Herrmann.
Bernard Herrmann, thank you. He was the composer for Taxi Driver, which is why I like that.
Well, there you go.
That's why I like that.
Now, on that
soundtrack.
note, do you prefer film scores or film soundtracks? Do you prefer collections of songs just used in movies, which typically for blockbusters or big Hollywood films is not done? Or do you prefer original works, scores?
I'm always going to push for originality.
Yeah.
I think as much as I enjoy the use of pop songs at times. Yeah, I think the early 2000s were. The early 2000s were very,
Overkill.
very, 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 very guilty of this.
Yes.
Of using the same 5 songs and every like if you played a Blink-182 song or Sum 41, I think, right?
Yeah.
If you played a Sum 41 song, everybody already knows, like, oh, this is the going to school montage. So I think pushing for originality is, I think it's more rewarding because it's unique in a way, right? It's not, it's a cookie cutter, copy and paste montage scene. This is cool.
Yeah, for me, it really depends on the film. For example, for me, the best example is Full Metal Jacket, which all of those psychedelic rock songs that are used in the film make sense because it's a film about that time period and that era. And I mean, Scorsese, that's the reason why he only ever uses
6 songs.
Those songs is because his films are all about the same time period.
Yeah.
All those 90s and 80s gangster movies that he was making. The only outlier I can really think of is a guy like Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, I was just about to mention
who will use
pop songs
just because he thinks they're good songs.
Yeah.
Just because they sound cool.
Yeah.
They will have nothing to do with
you know what's
time
cool
period.
about Tarantino, though?
Yeah.
Is he doesn't use popular songs that everybody knows.
No.
Like when I watched, I don't know if you've watched it yet, but Once Upon a Time, it's set in the 60s, so you think like, oh, 60s, we're gonna get Stones, Beatles, we're gonna get Zeppelin a little bit because they were there at the tail end of the 60s. The most popular song on that soundtrack is "Here's to You, Mrs. Robinson." Mrs. Robinson by, I don't even know the artist's name, but the one that's like, "Here's to you, Mrs. That's the most popular song, and it's only in there for like 10 seconds. Every other song in there's like one Rolling Stones song that I guarantee you only the most
hardcore
Rolling Stones fan would know.
Yeah.
Because like I'm a casual Stones fan. Like I've listened to some of their hits and like a couple of their albums.
Yeah.
I didn't know that song at all. I had to look it up. So it was like, oh, that's dope. Like he's going into deep, pulling out deep songs from that decade. And I thought it was pretty cool.
I think for me, well, okay, the reason why that works for him is because he can do crazy combinations. Like my favorite example is the ending to Kill Bill Volume 1, where it's samurais fighting, but the song is like a flamenco style. With the guitar and the clapping along. And there's a special word for that, and it completely escapes me, and I should know as a fan of flamenco music. But I also don't speak Spanish. However, it's okay. Anyway, that's one of those things where I'm like, that song works. Yeah. But I never would have listened to that song and thought about samurais fighting. And the fact that he made that connection is super, super cool. The thing I don't like about using real songs in soundtracks is that if it's a song then your connection to that song will triumph the work itself. Like, I'm a massive Radiohead fan. Anytime I hear a Radiohead song in anything, it takes me out of the movie because all I can think about is how much I like that song, something like that. And this is like, Black Mirror, for example, has used exit music in one of their episodes. Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve has a Radiohead song in it. Kodak. And my favorite example, Clueless, has fake plastic trees. I know. It's so weird to see them on Spotify, and you know how Spotify will say appears on, and there's a Clueless soundtrack, and I'm like, well, every time I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, the song appeared in one scene, and they made fun of it in that scene. But seriously, that happens anytime it's like a song I know. I'm just like, it takes me out of the movie for just even if it's just a brief minute to acknowledge it. It's like, oh yes, Kodak by Radiohead. Anyway, let's get back to it. You
know who does that for me?
Who does that for you?
Forrest Gump.
Really?
Going to watch Forrest Gump because that movie is just littered with the top hits of that year. Yeah. So like going back and listening to Fortunate Son or whatever else, like anything. Elvis, an Elvis song pops up. I think it's just like I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Which to some degree I appreciate it because everyone has that where you listen to a song and you imagine a movie to it. And so to hear a song in a movie, you're like, yes, I too listened to this song, and it's a very cinematic song, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like maybe it's, you know, don't do it that often. Where it's like, because there are definitely some movies where it's like
Don't.
And it's also just bad choice of music, you know.
Sometimes, yeah. That's the problem with using pop songs, though. Is it's entirely your library of songs.
Yeah,
right. It's what you listen to as a director, writer, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's a little bit less objective and more subjective in that case.
I appreciate
in comparison to original work.
I appreciate it though when they use pop songs and it still matches the movie.
Yeah.
You know, for example, Kodak in Prisoners, where the lyrics, well, it's not the lyrics actually, it's the chord progression mimics the character arc at that point. And there was some video breakdown on that I'm not going to go into now because I don't know enough about music theory to remember anything about what they said. Basically, spoiler alert, the song is unresolved at the end. There you go. I spoiled Prisoners for you. Anyway, that's not important.
We're talking about the Hugh Jackman movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve with
gotcha.
what's his name?
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal. And a Paul Dano.
Oh yeah, Paul Dano's in there
too.
Forget
Pandano's in there.
He gets beaten up. Anyway. Yeah, so when they managed to take real songs that fit the meaning of the movie, I really like that. Yeah, it's just I shy away from that. I don't really always appreciate that or like that. I'd love it when it's diegetic. If your movie has no soundtrack.
I think that's the smartest way to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say that's the only way, but that's another way in which I really appreciate that is if your movie just has no soundtrack.
Once Upon a Time does it like that. Where it's literally characters, the only time you hear music.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say the only time, but probably 80% of the movie,
they turn on radio.
The one time you listen to the music is when they're in the car driving around, which I think is so smart.
Or in Blue is the Warmest Colors, it's whenever they go to parties. That's the only time you ever hear music. And that I appreciate just as like an immersion thing.
Yeah.
Even if I still recognize the songs, even if the songs are songs I know and love, I'm still like, I at least appreciated that you included the songs in the world of the movie and didn't just say, this is my favorite Radiohead song, therefore I'm going to use it in this scene. Because,
like, at least take it off of out of the top 5 on Spotify. Don't use the top 5 song on Spotify.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. You talk to any Radiohead fan, they will know all those songs anyway.
Fair enough.
There's not a Radiohead song that they don't know.
Fair enough.
Which is funny because they even released an unreleased song.
You know what I do like about the use? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you know what I do like about the use of the pop songs?
What?
Is that it does a really good job of encapsulating the period, not only that the film takes place, but also the era that the film is made in.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Here I go with my Dazed and Confused reference of the week. Everybody take a shot at home.
Yeah.
But like the songs used in Dazed and Confused they are hit songs of the 70s, but they're also songs that are still being played in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cool. And even, I'm trying to think of another, I can't think of another song off the top of my head, or another movie off the top of my head.
It's also good when it comes to like, you know, when it's like, because Clueless, for example, you'll get Fake Plastic Trees, but Clueless came out in the 90s. That was a Radiohead song from the 90s.
Yeah.
So then you move to Prisoners, which has Kodak, which was just a Radiohead song, not from the 90s, but from the 2000s. So even the evolution of the artist comes through in the time period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Also, I remember what I was going to say, which is fuck every animated kids movie that has a dance scene in it with some pop song.
Shout out 3 of them right now.
Shout out 3 of them: Trolls 2, and Osmosis Jones.
Interesting.
And the Goofy movie. I'm sorry, fans of the Goofy movie. But any animated kids movie that does that. The Emoji Movie did that too. I don't even
You've
see
seen a
these
lot
movies.
of you've seen a lot
I
of
don't
kids
even
movies.
see these movies. I know it
The
happens.
last kids movie I saw was Kung Fu Panda 2. Well, actually, that's a lie. Lego Batman. This is the last kids movie I saw. Regardless, continue your point. I'm sorry.
I don't even have to see these movies to know that they do it, and I know they do it because I see people complain about them when they criticize
So what
these
makes
movies.
you upset about them? Is it just cringe?
Part of it is the fact that it's so pandering to kids. I don't appreciate
I mean, it's
it.
a kids movie.
But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you want to make a kids movie that kids can understand and relate to.
Sure.
But there's to some degree like an element of disrespect for your audience if you're willing to like put character and plot aside to just say, yeah, you guys know this song, right? It's popular the year of release, or it was popular, a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that there is it's someone's job to say, okay, guys, this song we're going to animate this dance scene to so that in 5 years when the movie is complete, it's still going to be relevant.
terribly.
Yeah. I just don't. That's what I like about Pixar. They don't do that.
Mm.
They're making movies that tell stories. They're not just trying to capitalize on
Kids.
kids.
You're telling me Boss Baby and Boss Baby Back at Home are not the greatest movies you've ever seen in your life?
No, they are. They're just not good because of that aspect, in my opinion. I hate that so much. If your movie has, well, I shouldn't generalize this because there are definitely, okay, I'm not going to generalize it. I just hate when movies have like random musical, like sidetracks. There are times when it works. Pulp Fiction, for example, right? But if characters just stop what they're doing and they dance to some pop song, I'm like,
You're out.
I hate this.
You're out.
I really hate
So
this.
how do you feel about High School Musicals?
I hate it.
It's fair.
Okay, if it's a musical, that's different, which we should talk about.
DComs next week?
Yeah, we should talk about soundtracks for musicals. Do you have a musical that you...
I mean, I
enjoy
don't
the
listen to
soundtrack
musicals, so
Okay, well,
my
then,
favorite musical of all
that
time
concludes this conversation
Wizard
on
of Oz.
musicals.
When my favorite musical of all time is The Wizard of
The
Oz.
Wizard of Oz? Not even
So-
like actual musicals? Like,
I do not enjoy musicals.
yeah, you ever seen Wicked?
No, I don't enjoy musicals. That's what I'm trying to
Okay.
tell you. Like I will not. Like I had to be forced to watch La La Land. And I enjoyed La La Land.
Okay, I also...
for the actual plot. I didn't
Yeah.
enjoy La La Land the musical.
Because you hate jazz.
I mean, it's okay. It's not my music. It's not the type of music I'm gonna go to a club. Well, actually, I would go to a club to listen.
You go to a
jazz
jazz club?
I'd go to a jazz club.
Yeah, just for the experience?
Yeah.
Nice. Just feeling...
If it's live, yeah. If I'm watching,
If you're just listening to it,
yeah.
LMAO.
I don't know. What's let's ask you. What is your
West Side Story.
favorite musical?
West
Are you
Side
excited
Story.
for the new one?
No, not at all. Because
Mm.
Yolan's better.
It's Spielberg.
I don't care.
Mm.
Doesn't have to exist. Okay, it does kind of have to exist because, to give them credit, they actually casted Latino actors as the Latino
I was
characters.
gonna say, yeah,
Which is good.
yeah. Lin-Manuel Miranda, take notes, son of a bitch. I'm coming for you. I respect your artistic ability, but I'm still coming for your head.
Understandable. But I don't know. There's probably just a nostalgia
old is that
factor
movie?
with it. How
movie?
old is it? Don't ask me. I swear it came out in like the 60s or 50s.
Don't ask my co-host of
Yeah.
a
Don't,
film podcast how old
how
a
old the
movie
film is.
Yeah.
Well, there's the film and then there's the play. The play is older than
The play is old. I know that much.
But
1961.
there you go. I said 60s. I was right.
Yeah.
Wow, 61. Jeez, that's old.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like that's deserved.
A remake? No. Well, okay.
What else are you gonna do? You're gonna make a sequel? East Side Story? An unnecessary sequel to a movie?
What Shakespeare? Yeah, it would just be a different Shakespeare
So I guess
play.
this is the year of unnecessary sequels that do really well at the box
If West Side
office.
Story
so-
was Romeo and Juliet, East Side Story is Titus Andronicus. But
I don't mind it.
I
as
like the
much.
sound. What I really appreciate about the soundtrack is that, first off, Stephen Sondheim is an amazing songwriter, and his lyricism is like some of the greatest I've ever heard. And I'm a real stickler for lyrics. which is why I like Radiohead, because you can never understand what they're saying.
I was gonna say you listen to K-pop and
That's my
metal music.
That's my my bar is between K-pop, Radiohead, and metal. If I can understand what the singer is saying, I don't listen to it.
It's fair. No, it's fair. At least you're consistent.
At least I'm consistent. Because when it comes to lyrics, they for me really kill songs.
Yeah,
and that's what I preach about Stephen Sondheim is that he always has this. He's always taking into account the melody, the meaning, and the actual music.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Part of the reason why I just hate.
Is he a classical composer?
I think he's done composing. Yeah. West Side Story was specifically composed by Leonard Bernstein.
That sounds like a classical composer nerd thing, kind of to take into account all that.
You don't know anything about anything that you're talking about, do you?
No.
LMAO. West Side Story for me is really good because Leonard Bernstein and Stephen Sondheim was a great combination. It was between Sondheim's lyricism, which he does such a good job. For me, great lyricism is taking very complex ideas and making them very simple lyrics. That's what I love about Stephen Sondheim. That's why I love Pink Floyd, because even though Roger Waters is a dickhead, I love his lyrics. But that combined with Leonard Bernstein's music, which he kept the Latin flavor and he kept the complexity of Latin music as well, which was a big contentious part of the music. People thought that West Side Story was almost unperformable because the music was too difficult to do consistently and even to dance to, for that matter, because you're throwing all these weird time signatures everywhere. Not that it was like Rites of Spring or anything like that. This is a weird tangent. I'm talking to myself at this point. No one knows what I'm talking about.
I tell you, I don't know anything about musicals. This is all you.
So that's why it's my favorite. For sure.
That's fair.
Yeah. I would say West Side Story. It's, at least for me, out of the soundtracks I've heard and listened to, it would be... Because there are individual songs from each music. Here's the thing with musicals. A lot of Broadway musicals, at least their movie counterparts. And this is part of the reason why I don't like musicals either. It's because it's hard to listen to without the movie. For me, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
I
always thought it was weird when people, like my sister does this, where she would listen to she never watched the play, by the way.
She just likes
never watched the play or the musical, but she just really liked the Hamilton soundtrack. And I was like, how do you enjoy this?
I mean, it's possible because, musical theater nerds do it all the time.
She's not a musical theater nerd.
Nonetheless, they do it all the time as well.
Sure. They're just built different, though.
Yeah, they can listen to the soundtrack, but it's because they love the play so much.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. She had never seen the play. That's why I was like, this is weird.
For me, though...
Sorry for calling you out, by the way.
LMAO. What I love about West Side Story is I love the movie. So the
actual plot.
I love the movie itself.
The actual narrative. Okay.
Well, not just the story, because it's literally just Romeo and Juliet. But I just like the movie. And so it's like I'm always willing to listen to the soundtrack. Because I love watching the movie. Mm-hmm. And I only ever listen to it watching the clips from the movie. Yeah. Whereas it comes to other musicals like Wicked, for example, where sure there are songs that are catchy, that Popular is the one song that everybody knows from that.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't care for the play at all. So
why am I gonna listen to the music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would only ever listen to it if somebody else wanted to listen to it, which was the only time I ever did listen to it. And don't get me started on Mamma Mia.
I won't.
So let's move on.
Okay. Trust me, if you're talking to the wrong guy, if you want to keep talking about musicals.
Take everything I said about animated kids movie and just amplify it for Mamma Mia.
Now let me ask you this. Animated kids movies. Disney.
Yeah.
They're probably the best at
their musicals.
Their soundtracks.
Now, how much of that is because you like those songs and how much is just because you grew up with them?
50-50.
For me, it's like 100% just because I grew up with them.
I don't know. There's some real bangers in there where I go back and I'll listen to and I'll be like, oh, yeah.
Not to say I don't know the words of them or that I don't like those songs. I do like those songs. It's just I only like them because I grew up listening to them. And even then, it's not even everything they've done. Mulan, for me, is probably the best.
Mulan's a good one. I think my
Mulan is
favorite.
the best.
Everybody likes Tarzan. I don't know why my computer's
an
making
update?
noises. Everybody likes Tarzan, rightfully so. You know,
totally agree. You know,
but I think my favorite. I mean, it's hard to beat that Lion King soundtrack. Just from the
Lion
opening,
King,
just
yeah.
from the opening song.
yeah, Lion King for sure.
Lion King is
That's a good one.
probably
Elton
my go.
John.
Or Hercules. Hercules is low key underrated as a musical.
For me, okay. So in terms of songs I grew up with, Lion King and Mulan for me are
Sure, I'll give you
amazing.
that.
In terms of like what I think is genuinely one of their best soundtracks, both musically and thematically, Hunchback of Notre Dame.
That's another
100%.
good one too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another good one.
Hellfire alone
Yeah.
beats like 98%.
You know, it's
everything
another
else
one
they
that
do.
has a couple good songs, but I don't think is worthy of like much discussion on. Pocahontas.
Yeah,
Movie sucks, and it makes no sense, and it's historically inaccurate.
but have you learned to paint with the colors of the wind?
But the songs are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Savages, dude, Savages. I could bump that in my car. I would bump that in my car. You know, because
I would love to see
listen, I was a pizza delivery driver. You're driving around for 8 hours a day. Like, you got to start thinking of new
Doesn't
songs
keep
to
you
listen
awake.
to.
Yeah,
So sometimes I'll go like old school Disney.
that's
you know,
funny.
there's only so many podcasts and books and audio books, and only so many times I can listen to Kid Cudi and Kanye West in
Yeah.
my car before I start to go crazy.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but I would say Disney's up there as far as I mean they are the gold standard, which
So-
is not a hot take whatsoever. But
What is your top 3
what are we talking? Disney
all time?
All
Not
time?
even just. I mean, you can include
movie
Disney, that's up to
soundtracks.
just movie soundtracks. Yeah, top 3.
Man, oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I think everybody in their mind, everybody who listens to this knows I'm gonna go Nolan and Zimmer,
Yeah,
and I am.
yeah.
And I think I'm going Interstellar.
Interstellar is a good one. That'll
I've
probably
listened
be
to
my
that
number
whole
2.
album, that whole soundtrack multiple times.
Yeah.
As much as I love The Dark Knight as a movie, as much as I love Inception,
you know, it's
the serenity and the calming and the beautifulness and the
Yeah.
mysticism of
what
just space is so
mysticness.
yeah, whatever.
Mystery.
Mysteriousness, whatever. Of I'm not an English major. Of space is encapsulated in that soundtrack so well.
Yeah,
And I think it's just a beautiful piece of work.
the organ.
The organ is phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
For sure.
Yeah. Number
For
2.
Now I want to say this before you move on,
Okay.
because we were talking about tech music earlier.
Yeah.
And I told you this: Nolan doesn't compose with tech
And
music.
it shows.
I think a
Because
lot of
every one of his works is so unique.
that. Yeah, and also, I mean, for the audience, for the 3 of you who don't know this,
Shout out to the
films
three.
will be edited prior to a soundtrack being made, because the soundtrack is made to the
Right.
movie.
Right.
Maybe it's a rough cut, but nonetheless, because you can make edits afterwards, right after you get the music. But that's where temp music comes in, because you're editing a scene. You don't have a soundtrack yet, so they will pick temporary music to put in place
Just
while
to
they
set,
edit
like,
the scene.
pacing and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah. And the cuts and yeah.
However, by the time that gets to the actual composer, it's like, well, you've already edited this to this piece of music. So my choices are to either, try to do something like that
Similar.
fits, or I just have to do something similar. And that's where a lot of people will complain about modern soundtracks not being original or creative, is that they're doing something similar.
Yeah.
Nolan doesn't edit temp music, and I'm sure Hans Zimmer loves that, because he just has to go in.
Hans Zimmer can do whatever he wants.
He just goes in and does what he wants.
It's beautiful.
I also think part of it is just because Nolan is so old school in his thinking that he's like, well, of course I'm not going to do that.
His nose is up in the air.
Hitchcock didn't use a temp track, so I'm not going to do that.
Nolan basically has wristbands that say what would S do and what would A do. What would Alfred do and what would Stanley do?
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
that's his whole. That's basically his
Yeah.
whole career.
Yeah. What would Kubrick do?
Yeah, yeah,
That's just Nolan.
yeah, yeah. Basically, I mean, yeah. If you follow
much.
Nolan enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2, I think I'm gonna go Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
I really liked that soundtrack the
jazz.
first time I watched the music. It was just like this calm jazz, and then halfway through it, it started getting more ominous and eerie, and it was kind of scary. And then it came back to the calm, smooth
Calm jazz.
jazz.
Yeah.
It was a really smart way to
Portray Travis Bickle.
yeah. And that's what I mean. That's what movie soundtracks are. So that's what they're supposed to do is enhance
They still tell the story.
the experience, and they're supposed to tell a story through their own.
Yeah.
You know, like going through and listening to the Inception soundtrack or the Dark Knight soundtrack or the Blade Runner soundtrack. I can visualize the story of the character in my head as it goes.
Sure.
If I'm going number 3, honestly, Coco.
Yeah.
I think Coco would be in my top 3. It's
What is that soundtrack like? Because I haven't seen that movie.
It's Mexican music, but it's the actual singers. It's the actual actors singing it.
Oh yeah.
So, Coco's like a quasi musical slash non-musical.
Yeah, it's one of those movies.
It's like Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Pitch Perfect is a musical, but it's not really like classically a musical.
Music is just a part of the story.
Yeah, exactly. So that song is just littered with songs from in the movie that they sing actually in, and it's just
nice.
It's very good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a little biased because I'm Mexican, so anytime Mexican music is
I heard that there's a Radiohead song in there too. Some guy
there
plays
what?
Creep.
There's a Radiohead?
Creep gets played at some point in the movie, I was told.
I don't remember.
No. I also do know that the Pixar animators who every movie they come up with new technology, and for Coco, it wasn't new technology, but it was technology used in Finding Dory to animate the octopus, which was new technology.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, I think we talked about this one time.
For Coco, the way they animated the tentacles for the octopus,
they used for his fingers.
They used for his fingers so that it's actual guitar playing.
Yeah.
It's accurate guitar playing as well.
The actual chords, yeah.
Which
you can pick up on because you're now an officially guitar player.
Yeah.
For a whole 3 days now.
I have to see Coco. In order to learn all the flamenco guitar.
That's a good soundtrack. I like that soundtrack.
Yeah,
it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's one of Pixar's best.
Mm-hmm.
I was very dismissive. I was like, I don't need to see a movie about Mexicans. Like, this is dumb. Get this out of here. Give me Cars 4.
Have you seen the meme where it's like, oh, Pixar in the 90s? What if toys had feelings? What if monsters had feelings? What if cars had feelings? What if Mexicans had
now
feelings?
it's what if Italians had feelings?
Yeah.
That's basically what Pixar is. Yeah.
Poor Pixar.
Prior to Coco, we didn't have feelings, and now we have feelings because of Coco. So,
nice.
Bless you, Pixar. What's your top 3?
Top 3?
Yeah.
My number 1 has to be Social Network.
That's a good one. Yeah, that was borderline top 3 for me.
Just too many good. Even the weird Hall of the Mountain King cover. I still really, really like that soundtrack.
It's a good soundtrack.
I mean, Hand Covers Bruise pulls most of that weight because that's just such a fantastic song.
It's probably one of the most defining songs of the 2010s.
In terms of movie soundtracks?
Yeah.
Honestly?
Probably one of the more iconic ones.
Yeah. I mean, it's competing with...
What is it competing with? Just Marvel and Interstellar?
Yeah. That's probably... I hit the microphone.
You're good.
Yeah, I really can't think of much else.
2 and 3?
2 would probably be Interstellar.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And then 3 would probably be Birdman.
I haven't watched Birdman yet. I really need to.
So it's a combination of there's classical, but the original songs are all drum. It's just drumming. And I forgot the drummer's name, but it's jazz drumming as well. So it's fancy and intricate and in your face.
It's like Whiplash.
Yeah.
Nice.
And what's funny too is that previously Iñárritu's movies were just guitar.
Mm-hmm.
His soundtrack was just guitar. His name was Roman something. Start with the P. And that I loved. But for Birdman, the drumming, I really, really appreciated. Because it fits the movie so well. It's such a bare bones movie that for the soundtrack to just be bare bones drumming just makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
it's just the stripped down version, but you're still getting everything that you wanted, and that I really liked. Even though some of the classical pieces that are thrown in there kind of throws off the, like, listening to the soundtrack beginning to end. Whenever the classical pieces come up, it kind of is like, oh yeah, this is just, it's still a soundtrack. In terms, but those the reason I picked those three is because those are soundtracks I feel like I can listen to beginning to end.
Besides,
Yeah,
or without the movie.
like I love Johnny Greenwood. I think he's fantastic. But in terms of the films that he's composed, I'll be honest, those soundtracks I don't listen to beginning to end. There's really only like one or two songs and I love There Will Be Blood. But
that should be a noticeable mention.
Greenwood soundtrack, there's honestly maybe only one or two songs that I really pick out from that to listen to, and it's exclusively Converge. That song carries the entire movie. When
which one is that one?
That's the scene where they first strike oil and it catches on fire. The whole
when he sits down, he's looking at
catches
he's looking
on
at
fire. Yeah, that song. When the H loses his hearing.
Oh, so it's not when he's sitting down and watching the...
There are multiple scenes where this happens. Don't worry about it. I'll show you afterwards.
The scene where the oil sprouts out.
If you just look up Greenwood Convergence, it's one of those songs where you'll know instantly the scene it's from.
Yeah.
Because it's so recognizable. I almost feel like it's been used in other stuff too, which is funny because... Yeah. But as I cough. That for me, yeah, There Will Be Blood would definitely be up there too. It's a weird soundtrack. It's not even like what's weird about it too. It's not even a soundtrack. It's like a collection. It's almost a collection of pop songs. It's just songs pulled from here, songs pulled from there. Converge is the most famous song from it, and it was Greenwood composed it for something else. Yeah,
I was gonna ask you. That was my next question. How do you feel? What are some tracks that you have noticed in other films? The first one that comes to my mind is the song at the end of Arrival. It was used in Arrival, and it was also used in... was it Shutter Island? I want to say it was Shutter Island.
Really?
Don't know the name of the track.
That's interesting.
If I have to look it up, But are there any others that stand out to you that work in multiple scenes?
That work in multiple scenes? That's a really, really good question. Not that anything comes to my mind specifically. And here's the thing is that I feel like I would be good at catching that. I just don't think it's happened to me that often. For example, I haven't seen Shutter Island, so I wouldn't recognize that song. I mean, I will say every single time I'm watching a comedy and Eye of the Tiger comes up, I want to shoot myself. But other than that...
You don't like it?
No, I hate that song so much. I hate that song so much.
Fair.
Personally, yeah. I will say the weirdest use of a song I've ever heard was a Terrence Malick movie.
Take a shot.
Yep. It was in the film Night of Cups. Terrence Malick is like Quentin Tarantino. It's exclusively songs that he just picks out that he likes.
Sure.
There's no soundtrack really. But he used a song from a British musician called Burial. The song is called Ashtray Wasp. And why he chose that song, I have no idea. It has no lyrics, so it lyrically does not really fit the movie because there's no lyrics to it. It doesn't make any sense in the scene that happens because I remember the scene is like a character's at a diner. So why he even chose that song, where it has nothing thematic to do with the movie, where it has nothing, even the title doesn't even relate to the movie in any way. I'm just like, why this song? It stuck out to me. Like, I remember it because it sticks out as like a what, why? So yeah, that's...
The song was On the Nature of Daylight by Max Richter, by the way.
Max Richter is he's another good example.
It was in Arrival and
Turn to film
Shutter Island.
Yeah, for sure. There are, it's always really weird. Has this ever happened to you where you look up a song that you really love, maybe because it's emotional, and the comments are like, all talking about this scene from a movie or a TV show you've never seen,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh, great.
Now I gotta go watch it.
Well, not now I gotta go watch it, but it's like, I remember there was some Sigur Rós song, and all the comments were talking about Vampire Diaries because it was used during like a character death, and I was like, really, this song?
Who's here?
Diaries?
Who's here before
Who's here
it
from
was
Vampire
used?
Diaries?
Yeah. I was a true fan before
I
Switch
find-
That Birth used this song.
I find the song. I remember there's a song from a composer named Luke Howard. It's called "The End," and I was like, God, this is a really cinematic song. So on Spotify, it has like it's not even in his top 5 or something like that. So I'm like, who knows this song even exists? I go to YouTube, it has like 10,000 views. I'm like, no one knows this song exists, and it's so amazing. I go to the comments, who's here from the Viking? Man, when this character died in the Viking and this song played, I was so sad. I'm like, God dang it.
My favorite example of that was when Spider-Man, the first one, Homecoming, used the MGMT song.
Oh,
So MGMT was just literally plastered with
yeah.
Spider-Man, such and such trailer brought me here, and other comments, I'm a true MGMT fan.
Yeah.
I was here before Spider-Man. It's like, shut
Yeah, I
up.
hate
Like, you
that
need to know
too.
who MGMT was before. Like, you were living in a basement or you're 12.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So, no, what can you do? Now, do you have a favorite classic soundtrack? For me, the one that comes to mind is Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
That's a good one.
That and the weight of that is carried entirely by Ecstasy of Gold. And for anyone listening, that song that you have been trying to find for the last 1,000 years is Ecstasy of Gold. You
How does
will
it go?
listen to that and you will immediately be like, "Oh, that's what."
Give it to the audience. How does
Yeah.
it go?
It's the one where it's the piano just does the arpeggio and the woman with the super operatic voice just sings over top of it like it's Like
It's
Kick in the
escaping
Sky.
me right now.
it's. You'll listen to it and you'll be
Classic
like, "Oh, this."
soundtracks that I like.
Taxi Driver doesn't count.
I wasn't gonna use Taxi Driver.
Okay, good.
Man, I don't know. Whoa.
I just remembered something that I forgot to mention. We were talking about musicals earlier, and I forgot to mention what is probably, if I made a list of my favorite films of all time, I'm going to go back to musicals.
We did do that though.
Well, I made a list in terms of like different times of my life. If
Okay.
I did just my all-time favorite movies, not just for what specific period of my life, just all-time, the greatest films I've ever seen, probably my number 2 pick, even probably number 1, Singing in the Rain. It's a musical. The songs in that are amazing.
It's a classic.
Every song in that I listened. I
it's a
remember
classic.
watching that movie, and every single song, I'm like, this is like almost a labor of love. How much like effort was put into these songs? How well composed they all are. The worst song on that soundtrack is "Singing in the Rain." There are so many better
That's how
songs.
you know it's a good album.
Yeah.
Is if the
There
title
are
track
so
sucks.
many better songs in that movie. Good Morning is probably my favorite one. But that as a musical, and that's one where it's like, it's also like West Side Story, where it's like, I can listen to the soundtrack because I love the movie so much.
Mhm.
Singing in the Rain is a fantastic film. If you have never seen that movie before, I recommend it. Also, the fact that you just yawned is going to make me yawn, so you have to say something.
I'm also trying to think of a classic movie soundtrack that's not Taxi Driver that I like.
Dancing in the Wolves has a good soundtrack. The theme song for that one is good.
That's the Kevin
Lawrence of
Costner-
Arabia has a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
E.T.
E.T. does have a good sense. Let's talk about
Close
John
Encounters.
Williams.
Yeah, John Williams. Did he plagiarize? He did.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
He plagiarized.
That's a thing?
Yep, seriously. A lot of classical songs. Famous examples are, there's multiple songs in Star Wars that one is a plagiarism of Rites of Spring by God, what's his name? It completely escapes me now. Rites of Spring.
Was there a lawsuit against him? I never even heard of this.
Well, the thing is that a lot of these songs are so old that it's
Oh,
like,
so it's
yeah.
in the public domain.
but it's literally like one for one. Like the Imperial Death March is literally the song Mars from Gustav Holst. Almost like 1-to-1.
P for beat.
Well, some parts of it are almost 1-to-1.
That's fair.
And he's done this a number of other times too.
Sure.
He's really been accused of plagiarizing these songs. And to what degree is it? Yeah, they're in the public domain. And also, like, yeah.
So does that diminish? Do you think that diminishes his reputation? In your mind? In your
don't
eyes?
think so, because 100% of people heard his songs first.
It's like the thing where if somebody does it, it's like you telling a joke and nobody laughing, and then somebody else telling a joke but louder, and everybody laughs at that guy's joke. And you're like, hey, what the hell? I made the joke.
It's really more so as like if you tell a joke to people who already know the joke, it's not going to land. But if you tell the joke to people who don't know it, it will land. And that's just John Williams. He took these ideas that nobody knew because who's listening to classical music? At least the mainstream audience is it.
And put them in the movie.
Put them in the movies, and people are like, this is amazing.
It's fair.
If anything, it should get people to go and listen to Planets by Holst, because that whole symphony is amazing.
People don't even know.
Yeah, people don't know. Well, thanks to the internet, people do. Because if you upload your YouTube video, John William plagiarist, ? Big red circle around the musical notation.
With a shocked face in the thumbnail.
Yeah. Yeah. His eyes are like edited to be really bug-eyed. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Is he the greatest composer of all time?
Film composer specifically?
Yeah, film. Just film. This is a film podcast.
I wouldn't say so. Strictly because he's recognizable shouldn't mean that he's the greatest. That's
what I thought too, is he has a lot of pizzazz, but not a whole lot of depth.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like there's not a lot of...
That's probably why he plagiarized so much.
Like when I listen to the Imperial March, I don't think of like impending doom.
You just think of Star Wars.
I don't think of, evil. I think of Darth Vader walking down a hallway.
Yeah.
Whereas if you listen to like Trent Reznor, Hand Covers Bruce, you feel something.
Outside,
you may not even know that it's from
the
movie. Yeah. But you feel something, right?
Well, the same would go for Hans Zimmer. For me, in terms of like, quote unquote, greatest film composers, I mean, of the modern age, I should say, because
I think Zimmer's comfortably at the top.
Yeah, for sure. Zimmer, and then I would put Danny Elfman.
Sure.
Underneath him, but nonetheless, or even like Howard Shore, who did the Lord of the Rings.
That's another good one. Yeah, that's another good songs, another very good soundtrack.
But yeah, no. The thing with Hans Zimmer is that he's really good at
encapsulating what a scene is supposed to
feel,
how you're supposed to feel. Yeah.
Like it's really the feeling that.
My favorite example of this is listening to off of the Inception soundtrack, Mumbai, the track Mumbai.
Yeah.
I listen to it and I think like, oh crap, someone's chasing me. Like, and that's what's going on in the scene,
Yeah.
It's like Leonardo DiCaprio is getting chased through Mumbai. Quote unquote, or the title track Mumbai.
Yeah. There you go. It writes itself, people.
It works. That's why I personally prefer Zimmer over. Even though I can recognize Williams's
faster.
Yeah, like his
melodies,
achievement, and what he's done for the genre. I just think that it's like Spielberg, right? Like we were talking about how Spielberg and Lucas from that era are the greatest, or probably the ones who propped up film. I remember we were talking the top 4, and we were like, Lucas and Spielberg propped it up the most and made film what it is today. But
in terms of
they've just been so passed by the times that can you really call them the greatest ever? Yeah, I remember that. Sort of.
I would say the same personally. And I think part of that too is maybe just because it's really just what Zimmer. And I'll be honest, Zimmer's best work, I mean, there are movies that are composed by Hans Zimmer that I don't even realize it until the end. Yeah. Because I didn't recognize it.
Do you know Modern Warfare 2 was composed by Hans Zimmer?
That I did not.
Not a film soundtrack.
Yeah. Did you know Black Ops 2 was composed by Hans Zimmer and
it's a pop star.
Trent Reznor.
No.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
I guess I kind of got there, right? Right.
A pop star, Trent Reznor,
Pop star is like, quote unquote pop star.
Celebrity.
Like a famous.
Synonymous with celebrity.
A famous musician.
Not synonymous with douchebag. Yeah.
Yeah. Famous musician, I should say. That's kind of right.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Sure. In a parallel universe.
I would say Hans Zimmer's best work isn't even with Nolan.
What is it with?
I mean, it's either Gladiator with Ridley Scott, or it's, to me anyways, or it's Pirates of the Caribbean. To me.
Pirates of the Caribbean is a good one. Well, okay. I don't really like the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack because it's just he's a pirate and like that's it. Even though
I don't know. There's some good songs in that track. But regardless, continue your point.
I believe you. It's just it's one of those things where I've always dismissed it as this is the one popular song and nothing else is going to be worth listening to.
That's completely valid.
Which is what I love about the Interstellar soundtrack is you're watching the movie and you're like, okay, this song that they keep playing over and over is amazing. I have to listen to it. But all the rest of the songs on the soundtrack. Not only that, but there's so many variations of that one song.
Yeah, you don't even really know what the actual composition of the main theme is.
Yeah. It's used. There's so many different versions of it in the soundtrack.
Yeah. I think there's like 4 titles named Just Stay.
Just Stay. I was just going to say, good luck finding on YouTube when you type Stay and it's like, okay, is it Stay one word? Is it Stay as an acronym? Is it Stay like please stay?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah, no, I think Interstellar is probably definitely one of the better soundtracks
from Zimmer.
Me, yeah. Not just Hans Zimmer, but just like of this age of filmmaking.
Yeah.
I think it's just there's so much
I'm not going to argue with you on that one.
Yeah, no, there's just more for me. It's just the right combination of it being good like music cuz okay. Big issue with soundtracks because they're composed to movies. You'll get these elements in them where it's like, they build to a climax, but they'll never resolve because it's meant to be played with the movie.
Yeah.
Right. Or you just get like, and I hate this in soundtracks, but I know it's necessary. But it's like, if you've ever listened to like a horror movie soundtrack where it'll be like calm and ambient and then it will be the jump scare happens. And it's like, because you're not listening to it with the movie, you're like,
you're confused.
Why? Yeah. You're like, what prompted this? Oh, if you're watching the movie, this would make sense. And I feel like Interstellar doesn't have that at all. No.
There's like no filler in them in the soundtrack, at least.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that just comes with Hans Zimmer's experience. He really knows. And that's also why I love soundtracks that are done by people who aren't film composers. It's because
he originally started out with he was in a pop group.
Yeah.
He was with
same with Ryuichi Sakamoto.
Was it the Bugles? Video Killed the Radio Star?
I have no idea.
Whoever created that song.
MTV.
Hans Zimmer founded MTV?
Hans Zimmer founded MTV? Plagiarism? Question mark.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, same with Ryuichi Sakamoto. He was also in the pop group, and then he went into his orchestral music that he did, and then he did film scores like "Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence." He did "The Revenant" with Alvin Noto, who is let me tell you,
another
the
good
fact
soundtrack.
that those two guys were brought to a mainstream audience with that movie makes me feel like such a hipster.
You're the guy in the comments. I've known these guys before. This Revenant.
Previous works are so much better. No, it is a good soundtrack. It really is. He also recently just did a movie called Beckett on Netflix. So listen to that as well. There you go. We're not sponsored by Netflix. Imagine if we were sponsored by Netflix. That'd be crazy.
We'd have to watch a lot of Netflix crap.
Do you remember?
I don't think we talk so much shit about Netflix. I don't think they want.
Do you remember
old
old school YouTube where YouTubers were sponsored by Netflix and they were like, use this promo code to get something % off on a?
That's crazy though.
That was really, really old.
The
school
times
YouTube.
have really flown by.
Yeah.
Huh?
Now Netflix won't even touch them.
How do you feel about movies? I mean,
movies in general.
How do you like? Do you like movies?
No.
Do you like movies?
I haven't seen the movie. Last
time I saw the movie was when I killed a man.
My entire life is the Onion article of huge film buff hasn't enjoyed the movie in 8 years. That's me.
How do you feel about TV shows and their scores.
I was gonna wait until we segued into TV soundtracks.
Yeah. Is there a one that immediately pops to the front of your head?
When it comes to Breaking Bad,
Sure.
for me,
Sure.
that was for me the first show where I was really like, who is this composer? I want to listen to this soundtrack. His name is Darren something, I believe.
Sounds familiar. Sounds right.
I think it's like Darren Slope.
Tech, IT. Let's get on that.
Yeah.
Paulie, pull it up for me.
Paulie?
I fired Tony.
You're Scorsese. You fired Tony.
I fired Tony. Yeah.
Paulie.
Yeah.
I see how it is. Yeah. We're going to get the entire of Jersey Shore is going to work on their show.
Paulie D.
Is it Darren or Derek? It's one of those two. Or is it Dustin? I think it's Dustin.
Looking it up. Stand by. It is Dave. Dave Porter.
You know, if I named enough D names, I would have hit Dave eventually.
Dave was going to be right after... I don't know. Anyways.
Daryl. Yeah, no. Dave Porter. That soundtrack, that show for me was the first time where I was like...
It's a good one.
Who is this composer and what is the soundtrack to this show?
What else has he done?
Exactly. I have absolutely no idea.
That's the thing is, what else has he done? That was really a good question. Blacklist, Better Call Saul.
Oh, of course he did Better Call Saul.
El Camino.
Well, of course he did El Camino.
The Disaster Artist. Prior to Breaking Bad. Not seeing a whole lot. So that's the old pull somebody out of nowhere and let's see what they got.
Some session musician who...
Which seems to be a standard for television.
Yes.
Let's just get somebody and see what they can do.
Um,
Interesting career he has here.
Now, what I think is interesting about that too is that for TV shows, it feels like a lot of the weight was on the theme songs. But tell me if I'm wrong. TV shows have really gotten rid of theme songs.
It's less. Here's a 30-second credit segment.
Mm-hmm.
Or 30-second credits with a cool song at the front, and more like, here's 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Intro. Generic song.
Like
for me, the biggest offender of this, and I was really disappointed that they decided to go this trend, was The Witcher.
Yeah,
because it's like The Witcher. Oh, dope! It's like this Polish mythology, medieval warfare, fantasy, high fantasy.
They're gonna pull out like something on the level of Game of Thrones?
Yeah, they're gonna do some Game of Thrones type stuff where it's like, I don't even know what I was thinking. Like a montage sequence of Geralt fighting villains and
it's literally
like
just
that.
a video game.
But it literally is just The Witcher in black background, gray font, metallic looking. That's it. And I was like, come on, Netflix, we could have done so much better.
Yeah.
You put out $4 billion worth of content. This is what you give us. So I was really disappointed with that. But that seems to be the trend. Like I remember, I think Game of Thrones is the last show that actually had a dedicated minute-long intro.
Yeah.
From what I've seen. Like even Ozark, one of my favorite shows out right now.
Doesn't really have.
It's like, it's just the big O in the 4 quadrants.
I mean, Walking Dead is still on TV and that still has a theme.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But nonetheless, yeah. I mean, for me, when it really comes to theme songs, I just look at anime. Nobody does theme songs better than them.
Yeah.
Nobody does credits better than anime. Seriously. Unironically.
Shout out to Attack on Titan.
Shout out to Attack on Titan. Shout out to One Piece.
Shout out to Dragon Ball. Shout out to
Tokyo Ghoul.
Death Note. Shout out to
Death Note.
Naruto.
Dude, that Death Note is a perfect example of how a theme song can impact a show. Yeah. Because the second half of that series, where the theme song is that freaking
metal song,
grindcore metal song. No, I love it personally. That I prefer that over the first.
No, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, "What is this? Am I watching it?" I had to back out of Netflix, close Netflix, and reopen it because I thought I opened something up. I thought I got a corrupted file. I had to check like 3 other episodes to make sure I was watching the same show.
It wasn't gonna
because it just change. It doesn't like Attack on Titan changes songs, but it's per season or like half season, so you kind of know what's gonna come.
Yeah.
Death Note, it was just straight up like, all right, episode 27, first song. Episode 28. It's like, whoa, what is going on?
Dude, that song has actually unironically been stuck in my head.
It's a good song. It's a good song.
But it's a perfect example of like, it really sets the tone because you're like, what the heck is this?
And
And then the show happens, and you're like, what the heck is this?
It captures the main character as well.
Yeah, seriously. I remember I saw a YouTube comment recently that was like, I don't know why I've been watching so much Death Note content.
Sounds like we need to do a Death Note rewatch.
We need to do a Death Note rewatch.
I've been watching a lot of Death Note clips
we need
too.
to rewatch this anime. And then
I'm not watching the live action. No, I'm not watching the live action.
There was a comment where it was like the first opening for the first half of the show is how L sees her, how Light sees himself, and the second opening is how everyone sees Light. Is he's just a crazy psychopath? Yeah. That's seriously a good example. And Attack on Titan is also, I mean, everyone loves it because it's catchy and recognizable. Both the first opening and Saseo, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows those two. Even though I prefer the second opening personally. I think that one's better.
Which, the second one's good. I like
the second one is amazing.
Episode, no, that's not episode 2. That's, or season 2.
Season 1.
Season 1, the second
opening
song.
2. Yep.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. The one where it's like super fast, like yeah. I like that one. I like all the openings. The only one I didn't like of Attack on Titan was
the acoustic one.
3. Yeah.
I love that one.
The piano one where it's like dun dun.
I
didn't like that one.
I like all their openings really. I mean, it's a good example of how to get somebody interested and hyped in your show without having to watch it. Because I guarantee you, and I mean, back when I was a massive anime fan, you would watch shows just because you would see the opening credits.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only reason I ever watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, was because I saw the opening and I was like, this looks pretty good. I want to watch the show now.
That's the reason I got stuck, or I started watching Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
Only 2 episodes in, but.
Well, there you go. I mean, it was good enough to work, right?
Yeah.
The problem with a lot of American TV is, first off, well, just in general, that's time consuming and it's expensive to do.
Yeah.
And it takes up time from the show itself. That's okay with anime because they have a lot of filler and padding. But with American TV shows, even though they still have just as much filler and padding, there are some episodes of Game of Thrones where the theme song could have been 50 minutes long and you wouldn't have lost any information.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. There are episodes of The Walking Dead where the theme song could have been the entire episode.
Everything past season 6.
Yeah. You wouldn't have lost anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's missing. That's the problem with, I have a lot of animated shows in America, is the theme song. They've like almost completely erased the theme song from animated TV.
It's kind of sad.
The classics still have it. Family Guy still has it. American Dad still has it. South Park has theirs. SpongeBob has theirs. Simpson has theirs. It's never going away.
Yeah.
But newer animated shows just skip the intro. And what's funny too is that there's examples too where like The Amazing World of Gumball is a good example where the theme song is just like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But the entire song is like, you have to listen to the entire song to like, and those 2 seconds is like the ending of the song or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That I just don't appreciate personally.
Yeah, it sucks.
And maybe that's because I'm so used to anime.
It's supposed to get you excited, you know.
Yeah.
I remember like, you know, watching cartoons. You know, back in the day when we didn't have guides, it was just like you turn on the cartoons and whatever's gonna be on is gonna be on.
Whatever's on is on.
It's almost like WWE, right? When you hear John Cena's theme come out and he comes out and you're like, oh shit, John Cena's here.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm watching cartoons, maybe I'm watching, you know, Foster's Home, whatever, and then all of a sudden you hear ha 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 ha, and then it's Billy and Mandy, and you're like, oh shit, it's Billy and Mandy.
Even theme songs that like don't have much to them, like The Office.
Yeah, because it sets you in that world, and I think that is. I mean, that's probably, if I had to make a top 5 TV themes, that's top 5 for sure.
No, like, that's like bottom 5 for me. I hate that song.
You hate that song?
I hate it so much.
Oh, jeez, I love that song. I don't like the show.
The fact that
I think it's very smart.
You know why? I have a very specific reason why I hate it. It's because my parents love that show. And that freaking theme song is so much louder than the show itself that I could be on the other side of the house and I would still be able to hear it.
Dun, dun,
yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
and I'd be like, they're watching The Office. God dang it. This freaking theme song just... It goes through walls. It pierces through the air.
That's fair. It's
That's
iconic.
why I don't like it. It is iconic, though. Really.
Not a good show.
I think if we're just doing American TV shows, my favorite theme song, Game of Thrones, easily.
Yeah, because Game of Thrones is it's just epic.
It is
It's an epic.
epic.
It's the audio version to me. It's an audio version of a poem,
Yeah.
like an epic poem. Like I'm
To
getting
me-
ready to watch or read Beowulf or
Yeah.
King Arthur
I see that. Yeah.
tale.
That's a good take on it. I
Like
like
it's
that.
just like this, dun, like
Yeah. It has that.
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For real.
yeah. It's I would say it's top one.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad's good. The only problem I have with Breaking Bad is it's
Short.
10, if that, 10
Yeah.
seconds.
It's very, very short.
Like the whole track itself is a really good track,
Mm-hmm.
but they took that track and put
They
the
did
last
the gumball thing.
10
Yeah.
seconds of it, and it's like, come on, like, what are we doing here?
Now, I don't really watch sitcoms at all.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes like sitcom theme songs, I don't care whatsoever for those. I mean, everyone knows. I know the Friends theme. I know the French Prince of Bel-Air theme, but there's something about sitcom theme songs that I just don't care for. That's probably why I like Too Many Cooks so much, because it was just making fun of those, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, I don't
Too
mind
many
sitcoms.
cooks. Too many cooks. Too many cooks.
I don't mind sitcoms.
I don't.
At least
watch
the
them.
older ones.
No, not even
Anything
those.
before Friends, I don't, or I will watch.
You will watch.
Anything after, actually, anything before Tool Time or
Okay.
Home Improvement. Home Improvement's a
I was
good
gonna say, what's Tool Time? Do you mean Home Improvement?
one. Was Home Improvement before or after Friends? I think it was before Friends, right?
Probably, yeah.
I'll just say before Friends. I'll watch.
Dude, I don't watch any of these shows. You think I have a time for it? Okay, no, Home Improvement I did watch because it would be on early in the morning.
Yeah,
When I
Yeah,
would wake up.
that's
to
the only
school.
reason I
If
would
there was
watch it,
nothing
yeah.
interesting on Adult Swim. If Inuyasha wasn't on, I would watch
Yeah,
Home Improvement.
yeah. That's the only reason I would watch it. Cool.
LMAO. But no, seriously, anime has the best opening.
Oh yeah.
And closing
100%.
credits. I think if
The
I
Attack on Titan season 4 themes,
the closing credits, yeah. Good stuff.
I listen to those just recreationally, not
No.
medically, recreationally.
I think if I was still doing best opening themes, Adventure Time.
I'm trying to think of Adventure Time. Is it the one where he just straight up goes Adventure Time?
No. It's an actual song about the show. And it works for that
I'm trying to
reason
think of it.
because
I don't remember it.
it's the one that's like Adventure Time, come on, grab your friend. That and
Gumball.
no,
I'm gonna say Gumball.
no. Freaking Flapjack.
Mm.
Do you
You know
remember
what's
the
a good
theme
one?
song to Flapjack?
I don't remember Flapjack.
It was good.
Gravity Falls.
Did that really have a theme song?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a montage of the forest.
Oh yeah, it was like a time lapse, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember now. But it didn't. It wasn't like a song.
No,
No.
but if we're talking just like intros, theme songs,
Yeah. True.
I liked it.
Yeah, Adventure Time had a good soundtrack because, like, I swear to God, the entire staff of that show were musicians because anytime they had the opportunity to write their own music, they would for that show. Shout out to Rebecca Sugar. who
Shout out.
Did it every time she could.
Thank you for supporting us.
Steven Universe has a great soundtrack, in my opinion, too. I love that. Do you know the musician Madion?
It sounds super familiar.
He does songs like Shelter. It was Porter Robinson. Does that ring a bell as well?
It sounds super familiar.
The Steven Universe has a somewhat similar style to those two guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I like
Gotcha,
that
gotcha.
really lush electronics.
I do like a good electronic song.
Yeah. So those are two good. I think, honestly, in terms of a complete soundtrack, Steven Universe would probably be better than most other TV shows.
TVs.
Yeah. Personally, yeah. Just opinion here.
I stopped watching Cartoon Network after that. Around that era.
I am going to make a change to my list. Now, this podcast has gone for a very long time, so we need to end it on a high note and talk about the greatest theme song in all of American television. Band of Brothers.
And that's where we'll leave our episode. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's who is that?
No idea. I almost think it's Howard Shore. I don't know why I think that.
I want to
but-
say it's a big, like a.
No, I think it's not a big composer.
No, it's not a big composer, but I think it was someone who collaborates a lot with.
Now you might be thinking of the Pacific, which I think was Hans Zimmer,
I might be thinking of the Pacific then.
but Band of Brothers
Michael
itself,
Kamen.
yeah, someone.
So he's done Robin Hood, Kevin Costner,
yeah, he's done a number of things.
X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
Lethal Weapon, and that's really about it. No,
What I love about that intro is how it stays the same, but it changes throughout the series. Because
The
when
visuals,
it's
you
not the visuals, the music. When the show is heroic, that theme song is heroic. When the show is depressing and sad and everyone is dying,
oh, I
that
see what you're
theme
saying.
song.
Yeah, you can
nothing
take-
changes,
you can take
but it sounds
different
depressing
meanings.
and sad. Yeah,
yeah.
it
It's
stays
almost.
the same.
You know what that book? You know what that song? That book. You know what that song reminds me of?
Yeah,
It almost makes me feel like I'm reading a history textbook.
yeah. It sounds like
It's super bizarre in how it does that, but
Yeah.
it's effective.
no real. I mean, you also just compared Game of Thrones to an epic poem.
Yeah,
So-
I did do that.
You're on your analogy thing tonight.
I'm on my game today.
But that's what I like about the Band of Brothers opening is how it emotionally evolves with the show, even though it
Yeah.
stays the exact same.
Yeah.
But it just has the right resonance to what the core of the show is, that it matches everything the show is about. It's just it's such
It's a good series. That's a great
it's
series.
a good series, but it's a good song. Really good
Sounds
song.
like we're due for a
I honestly can't tell you much else about the soundtrack.
Bound of Brothers.
Yeah, we'll have to do a Band of Brothers maybe
Rewatch.
for Veterans Day.
It's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Or we could do some World War One stuff because that's around
November
Veterans
11th.
Day is
Yeah.
what do they call it? Armistice Day. Sorry.
Armistice Day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, maybe we should do that, something like that. We've already done the podcast on war movies, though,
Yeah.
so it had to be a little. You just want to watch 1917 again, don't you?
No, no, maybe. No.
I'll show you Gallipoli.
Yeah, we'll
We'll
watch
watch-
some
yeah.
Lawrence of Arabia, Gallipoli, some old classics.
LMAO. Oh,
On the
if
water.
you're
Not on the
willing
water.
to
Why
watch
am I thinking of On the Waterfront?
All Quiet on the
All
Western
Quiet on
Front.
the Western Front.
There you
There
go.
you go. Sorry, I'm
LMAO.
out of it right now.
It is
My
late.
analogies fried my brain.
All right,
Cool.
wrap this up.
Do we want to announce our schedule? New schedule? The thing we were talking about earlier today?
No, we'll keep this secret.
Okay. We'll keep it a secret.
We'll keep this secret.
You guys have a wonderful night. We'll see you guys on the flip side next week. Have a good one.